YouTubers, and welcome to another action figure review, and we're going to be looking at Mr. Freeze from the new Batman Adventures from the episode Cold Comfort. So let's begin by taking a look at the packaging. Freeze comes packaged on the standard blister card. We've got the silhouette image of Batman, Nightwing and Robin on the back of the card, and down on the front we have the new Batman Adventures logo. To the side we have the number 3 because it's the third figure in the line, and we have sculpted by Gentle Giant Studios. On the front of the plastic we have Mr. Freeze's name, and we also have a little sticker celebrating Batman's 75th anniversary. And on the back we have the same image of Batman, Robin and Nightwing, but with the colours reversed and the image flipped. So let's take a look at the articulation on this figure. Well, beginning with the head. To get any movement out of Mr. Freeze's head, you're going to have to take off the glass globe. This is very easy, it just clips on and slides off. Simple. Freeze's head can only really turn left and right. There's not an awful lot more you can do. You can't really look up or anything, so it really is just swivel all the way around. You also have some movement here at the large collar piece. That's not intentional, that is because this piece is removable, just clips in like that, and I will go on to explain why that is in just a moment. We have ball jointed shoulders, which can come out to the side, only about so far, so you're not going to get too much movement out of those, and of course they can swivel back and forth. Much like with Two-Face, the previous figure, because the torso is at an angle, the arms come out at an angle, like so. So if you want to make any straightforward poses with a gun, you're going to have to try and move the arms inwards and swivel the wrists around, stuff like that. The elbows can pivot up and down, and they're also ball jointed so they can swivel around 360 degrees. And we also have articulation at the wrist, 360 degree swivel, and they can pivot back and forth. There is no articulation at the waist, or if there is, the articulation is so stiff that it won't move on mine, but there is articulation at the abs. So I don't know if this is replacing the waist articulation, but that can turn ever so slightly as well. The hips are articulated so that they can move out to the side. Unlike Batman and Two-Face, the joints here aren't quite as stiff. This one here is a bit harder to move, but otherwise not too bad. And of course, as well as going out to the sides, they can move back ever so slightly, and they can come out to the front. Again, a bit stiff here. You can hear how the plastic's rubbing against each other, so be careful. Remember, stick it in boiling water. And we have articulation at the knees, so they can go back and forth. We have articulation at the top of the boots, so they can swivel around 360 degrees. And we also have articulation at the ankles that can pivot up and down. And much like with the previous Batman figure, they're also ball jointed so they can swivel around like so. So with the articulation out of the way, let's have a look at the detail. Beginning with the head, you've got the glass dome, very simple, just goes over the top, nice and easy. So we've already seen that, but let's get a better look at the head sculpt beneath. So as with the other figures that I've already reviewed, likeness-wise, well, they've done a very good job. It looks just like Mr. Freeze looks in the episode. Very gaunt, very long face. There isn't an awful lot of detail going on. We just have the black eyes with the red pupils, and where the mouth is, we have this tiny black line just to help make the mouth stand out a bit more. It is a really nice sculpt. You've got some really nice shadows here underneath the cheekbones and the sort of overarching brow of his eyes. There are some quality control issues. As you can see, there's this nasty black paint coming up the back onto his neck, but it's not too noticeable. There's also a bit of glue here around the base of his collar, but it's on the back, so you can't notice it that much, so it's not too much of a problem. Moving down to the suit, there's not an awful lot to say, really. It's just black with this bluish-green colour to highlight the gloves and the shoulders and the boots and the abdomen. The paint applications here are all very good until we get to these black lines on the shoulders and on the gloves. You can see there's some nasty areas of paint bleed here, and also down here the lines are slightly rough, not too bad there, but just on that shoulder there, not quite so good. It's only a minor nitpick, but it's something to be aware of, that Some of the paint apps aren't great, but thankfully this figure doesn't have an awful lot going on. It is very simple, so you shouldn't have too many problems. And the stuff like that, you might even be able to touch that up yourself with like a simple black pen to go into those grooves if the black hasn't covered it quite well enough. And it's just the same on the boots. Again, you've got some slight smudging here with the black paint in those grooves, but otherwise it's fairly good. It's also worth noting how much larger Mr. Freeze is in comparison to the other new Batman Adventures figures. He's really quite tall, which is great because he was really tall in the actual cartoon, much taller than Batman. I know here I've got Batman in a sort of a crouched pose and Two-Face isn't stood up dead straight, but it gives you an idea of how imposing he looks in comparison to the other figures on the shelf. Moving on to Mr. Freeze's accessories. He doesn't come with an awful lot. We've got the 4 robotic legs, which I'll show you how to use in a moment, and we have a variety of interchangeable hands and Mr. Freeze's freezing gun. So we have a pair of clenched fists, a pair of relaxed hands, and a pair of hands to grip things. Mr. Freeze's gun is very simple, a nice sculpt, very much as it looks in the cartoon. Not really an awful lot going on in terms of paint applications, it's just moulded in a solid black piece. It's exactly the same on either side. Okay, so let's walk through how to get those legs onto Mr. Freeze's head. So I mentioned before that the head comes off at the collar, so that just pops off very simply, like so. And then if you see here, there are 4 other holes around the middle hole. This is very simple. Each of the legs has a small round plug at the top. In terms of detail, not an awful lot going on. The sculpt, fairly accurate. You've got the segmented look, but there is no articulation there. It's just solid plastic. Obviously, at this scale, you wouldn't be able to put any articulation in this. It would snap very easily. So I can see why they didn't do that. And it is just cast in a solid grey plastic. No other details. And so you just plug these in like so. And that creates the spider effect. So here's Freeze with his spider body, had something very similar. It was something that I really liked in the cartoon. For those of you who haven't seen the episode, and spoilers if you haven't, the accident that turned Victor Freeze into Mr. Freeze had began to eat away his body, and so now he is only a head. That was the only thing he was able to save before he completely disintegrated. And so his suit is just a robotic suit, and his head also has these spider legs. Now in the actual show, this whole chest section opened up and the spider legs came out of that. Obviously they were not going to be able to do that here because it would just be impossible and totally impractical. But very nice that they've managed to create this effect with the spider legs. You do get some slight articulation, you know, you can move them about because they're ball jointed, so you can stand him up tighter, or, you know, have one leg up and have him in a range of different poses. But you're not going to get an awful lot out of it, but you can do some different things. And of course you can change the head around by taking the glass off, and you can do a fair bit with it. So if you want to display him as Spider Freeze, well, you have that option. And just like the other figures in the line, he comes with his display stand. Again, we have the clear plastic rod with the clip that slides up and down. And much like the Two-Face, you also have the slider, so you can pull it, or pull it out all the way. So you can push it forward and slide it backwards, and you also have the clips. And on the base, we have the same black and white turnarounds showing Mr. Freeze's design. The figure comes with the poster, with the Batman Animated and New Batman Adventures logos, and the checklist with all the figures coming out up to Wave 3. And here's Mr. Freeze stood next to his original 1998 Kenner counterpart, a figure that I loved as a kid. Really interesting to see the difference between the two. This new version is, of course, far more accurate in terms of the sculpt and things like that, especially in the head. This head here is quite short and stubby. But one thing that I do like with the original Kenner version is the metallic paint job that we have on the boots and the gloves and those lighter blue sections. Now here the greeny blue colour is far more accurate, but I just think the metallic paint just really helps set it off slightly more on the Kenner version. And actually, if you watch the cartoon, the way that this is actually painted makes it look like it's supposed to be metallic. It doesn't look flat like this does. So it's a shame that they didn't kind of go for either a gloss paint or something metallic like this. So final thoughts, I really do like this version of Mr. Freeze. I love that they've included the removable head with the spider legs. That's great. I loved that as a kid. I thought it was really creepy. Quality control issues, only minor, few little paint bleeds and glue bleeds. No breakages or anything like that, but again, something to be aware of, especially with this guy, because he's got very spindly legs, both the spider legs and his normal legs, but otherwise, very nice indeed. I'm really looking forward to when they make the animated series version of Mr. Freeze, because I do prefer that design. So thank you once again for watching, and please join me next time as I take a look at the final figure, which is Catwoman from Batman the Animated Series. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. It's not very easy with the camera in the way.